Mr. Martins?
Morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, fine. Can
You want
we
me to
share the
agenda?
agenda? Thanks.
Yes. I'm sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I was just suggesting that the government has done the report in the of the right. So it is only one report. So in other words, just combine parties.
Mr. Martins, where are those correspondence items?
Oh yeah, you know, I forgot to the the result for the minutes. Hear me, sir?
Can you put it on the after apologies, just
Recording
for
in progress.
Okay.
You know, I'm just going to the chairperson now. Did you get it only with me? It is essential.
Can you mute Mr. Martins, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry, Chair. Morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Matonzi.
Yes, it's exactly 10 o'clock. We can start the meeting, sir. We have enough members to start the meeting.
Okay, thanks very much, honorable members. Welcome, and thanks, Mr. Matonzi. Welcome, Minister, Deputy Minister, DG, and the chairperson of the Electoral Reform Panel. Mr. Matonzi, I request if there is a member or a colleague who's not, because obviously will disrupt the meeting, can we request that person mute or release him or her from the platform so that we proceed in the meeting. Thank you. We have invited the minister and the electoral panel to update the committee on the work that has been assigned by Parliament. As you recall that Parliament has taken a decision as a result of the conversation or deliberation by members of the committee and also stakeholders, political parties, and to establish the electoral panel reform to examine the current electoral system, whether it's working or not. Secondly, to establish if this current system is not working, to establish which electoral system members or Parliament may need to consider. And that is a mandate, and they should be able to do extensive consultation throughout with the stakeholders, political parties, and the members of the society. So this panel is the first time they meet with the portfolio committee, and we've convened on visual just because it's an introductory update and members to brief the committee in terms of their time frame, the program plan, and also the resource that will be brought into the space to make sure that this committee work independently so that they bring the report to the portfolio committee and Parliament to consider within the time frame that has been outlined by the Electoral Act. So this meeting will take stock and perhaps deliberate on the issues and able to have a guidance from the committee. We'll also look on the item number 5 and 6 and 7 on the consideration adoption of the report on the draft notice for the committee to consider, and we'll deal with the minutes of the previous committee meeting. I will therefore invite Mr. Matonzi to render apologies and thereafter invite the minister to introduce the team and also the chair of the electoral panel to introduce the collective that they are in this meeting. And also will then read on 2 correspondences which have been forwarded to the chairperson. I know that there's a letter from the speaker and also the letter from the Ms. Cohen, just for noting, and the committee will deal with that later. Mr. Matonzi, can I then invite you to, if there's any apologies, and also I will invite the minister and thereafter invite the chair of the electoral panel to introduce.
Yes, Chair, from my side, I've got an apology from Reverend Mission, and also that the minister will be in the meeting for the first, during the opening of the meeting, there is a big makeup proposed to the other engagement. That's all, Chairperson, from my side.
Okay, I see the hands of Honorable Mkhale. Is there any matter around the apologies?
Yes, Chairperson, I just wanted to submit the apology of Honorable Yazini. He's running late, will join us at 10:30.
Okay. Any other apology, Minister?
Morning, Chair. Would you like me to proceed?
Want to establish first, is there any apology you want to render?
I'm just taking a look now. I did not receive any specific apologies, Chair. I see the DM is also with us, so nothing from our side.
Okay. So, Mr. Matonzi, can we establish who is not muted? If that our colleague is unable to mute, can you advise that the colleague be released from the meeting, because she or he will disrupt the proceeding? Can I establish that, Mr. Matonzi, before, as to who was the that colleague of ours?
Chairperson, sorry, I muted myself. I was saying I could not identify the person, but I think the person has muted himself.
Okay. Can we request that our colleagues or those who have invited, including honorable members, we mute when it's not our time to contribute to the meeting, because we disrupt a person who is on the platform, and that will disrupt the meeting. So thanks very much. We'll invite the chair of, the Director General, if you can introduce your team. I know the minister may struggle a bit.
Good morning, Chair. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, proceed, DJ.
All right. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Minister. Good morning, TM and honorable members. From our side, I'm joined by Advocate Malakate from our legal unit, and also Agnes Mulife. I think Advocate Kumalo will also shortly join the meeting. So that's the team from the department. And then there's Riaz Musa, who's been assisting with the day-to-day admin of the committee, seconded by the department, together with Mefrofanda Westhazen. And then I think there's also, I've not seen Muzi Njoko. He's supposed to be part of the meeting. I hope he's joined now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DG. The chair of the Electoral Reform Panel, if you can introduce the team, and if there's any apology to render, you can also proceed in that score. Chairperson.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members of the Portfolio Committee. And good morning, Minister, Deputy Minister, and our Director General from Home Affairs side, and the colleagues, panelists that are there. As of now, I don't really have clear apologies, because we've invited all members to join on the virtual meeting. Previously, we thought we were coming physically, so we are going to be a limited group. So we've invited everyone to join and be part of this. So I didn't receive any apologies.
Okay, thanks very much, Chairperson Sisani. You are correct. In our next engagement with the panel, it will be physical. We just drawn that this is an update from yourself, and we're able to give members time for yourself to focus on this area. All apologies are noted, members. I will then invite Mr. Matonzi to note item number 3 for these 2 letters, so that we proceed on the 4th and the other items. Mr. Matonzi.
Chair, I'm just trying to get to the letters to share them. Sorry, Chair, I'm struggling to get the letters. I have them on. Can I read them without showing them on the computer share?
Mr. Matonzi, can you share the letters and you read them in, because they're directed to the committee, but it's a public meeting.
Yeah, I was saying I was struggling to share the letters, but I have them on my computer. I can read them.
Chairperson, if I may offer, this is Adam. Eddie, you can send them to me and I'll try to display them. Email them to me. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Adams, for your intervention.
Okay, trying to email them for you.
Eddie, you also just then need to make me a co-host. Thank you.
Yeah. The screen stops here. Just hold on, Adam.
I'm with you, Eddie.
It's not showing. I don't know what's going on with these letters. It's okay.
Okay, can we?
Yeah, I can read them. Chairperson, I'm still send them. I don't know why.
Okay,
Can I read them, Chair? Can I read them, Chair?
I think when we're in a visual meeting, we must prepare for if there are documents so that we're sure if we're able to deal with them.
Yeah, it's only that it's 2 letters. I don't know why, but I can read them and then I'll forward them to minutes.
Okay. Can we Mr. Salmon, can I just give you a small task? Just check who's disrupting us on the podium. Then we're able to request IT to remove him or her. Thank you. Mr. Makhale, Honorable Makhale, I see your hand.
Yes, Chairperson. Is it possible that Brady can send those letters to us in the group? Because some of us, we didn't even get the documents via email. So if you can send them on the group so that we also have sight to the letters if they can't post them here on the screen.
Or the letters have not been reached, have not reached members of the committee.
No, I did not send them. So
Okay.
I did not send them. Yeah.
Let's cut out that item. I don't think so. Members must operate. Let's remove that item. Honorable Makhale will deal with it. It's unfortunate that members could not be sent this letter, and I don't know what the reasons. And I don't think it's how the members of the committee must interact with the administration. We need to correct that anomaly. Thank you. Can we then take out that item? We'll deal with the other items that are following. Minister, I'm inviting you to introduce the team of Chairperson Sizani, and therefore we'll invite Chairperson Sizani to take us through on the detail of the presentation. Minister.
Yes, good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, Honorable Members. It's good to see you all virtually this morning. Yes, indeed, Chair, on this particular item, there's not much from my side, and I think it's quite important to emphasize that because what we've got here is an independent panel and an independent process that will be investigating this particular issue of electoral reform, will be embarking on public consultations, and will be proposing various scenarios or options to Parliament and to the nation for us to look at this issue holistically. I've said to the panel, Chair, that given the fundamental importance of this work, I mean, we must keep in mind that this is really about the most essential feature of our democracy, which is voting and how the electoral system works. That is a process that must indeed be treated with, I think, the utmost responsibility from the side of the minister and really from everyone involved in the process to ensure that we have an independent and objective process. And then, of course, the space will thereafter come for us to engage on the findings and outcomes of that. So we, from the department side, are supporting this. We will make sure that the secretarial services will be rendered for this panel, but we are not in any way involved in the actual substance of this work. And safe to say, Chair, that from the minister's side, we are in full support of the panel, its independence, and Advocate Sizani as the chair leading that process. And once we've got the outcomes thereof, the recommendations, I'm sure that's where we will really engage in the substance. But for now, out of respect for that process, you can have my commitment to safeguarding the work of this panel, making sure that it runs smoothly, and above all, in making sure that there's no taint of political involvement or interference. And we want simply the best independent process to emerge from this. So a short note from my side, Chair, but I think that's as it should be today. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Minister, for that outline and the commitment you have offered to the team. Mr. Sizani, I think the Minister has given an outline. It's our view as the Portfolio Committee and Parliament to have given you time to look on those scenarios, including to examine the current electoral system. We'll now invite you. I'm not sure who's going to run, but I think you'll guide us, Chairperson Sizani. You can proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. I've already done my greetings to the relevant protocol. Let me continue with the presentation. Can the sharer please move from the first slide to the second slide?
Okay, sorry, Chairperson. I see there's a hand of Honorable Ngubane. Honorable Ngubane.
Okay.
Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, Mr. Chabane, Minister, and Mr. Sizani. My name is Sihle Ngubane. I'm a new member of the committee from MK Party. I don't know whether we will get the background from Mr. Richard Sizani or the Minister or you, Mr. Musa, Mr. Chabane Musa. Of the background of the Electoral Reforms Consultation Panel, how it was formed, or whether is it coming from the 6th Parliament, and the framework of its work and its mandate. Where does it start? Where does it end? And the formulation of it, to say how was it constituted. The reason I'm raising this up front is because I wanted even the presentation to guide us, especially us from MK Party who might be new to the subject. Because I want to highlight this, Mr. Chabane, that as MK Party, we are very much vested and interested in issues related to the IEC, because we have a first-hand experience from the 29th May with the IEC. So even we would like to know as well, especially the selection of the panel and the members that are constituted on it, who is who and how were they elected, because we have, I think, over 110% interest of this Electoral Reform Consultation Panel. So that's all what I would like to include from my side, Chair, if that can be covered, or if we can get that background information so that we are comfortable of what is happening is in order. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Ngubane, I think it's a fair request. What we will do, because this is a Monday update from the commission, or no, not the commission, the Electoral Reform Panel, will subsequently circulate the details of the reasoning for their establishment to all members, and also will, now that you are raising the matter, will also take into account the session of the committee whilst they are dealing with this process. It's unfortunately that when we're dealing with the legacy report, members of the committee, Honorable Ngubane, you may not have the opportunity, given the work of other committees, to attend. It was sufficiently dealt with and members were briefed. And I can, with authority, note that all members, including the MK party, were in attendance. But noting your concerns, not necessarily concerned, but the issues you are raising, we'll deal with the matters separately. But I can confirm that all members must be comfortable, because this is not a decision-making process. It's the first update and the first meeting of the electoral panel to brief the committee. We'll then deal with the two issues which I think may need to comfort yourself. As a result of the Electoral Commission, Electoral Amendment Act, when we're dealing with the public consultation, you know that the Constitutional Court directed the Parliament to correct a provision in the Constitution that allows independent candidates or persons to participate as independent. So that process went into consultation by portfolio committee, and also there was a task team that was appointed by the then Minister Aaron Twaledi, appointed former Minister Valemusa and the team to look on the modalities that we need to deal with. The report was presented to the committee subsequent to the Parliament, and we then, one of the issues that came out as we engaging with the another site, NCOP, there was a decision that we must institute electoral panel to look on the modalities as we've outlined in our opening. And that will require that we appoint a team of experienced individuals to constitute this team to facilitate the discussion with the public and to bring the report to the in Parliament. And the Minister was given a mandate to invite the individual persons, and they've submitted their CVs or nominated. A consultation was made. Consultation with the Independent Electoral Commission was carried, and the report was brought before this portfolio committee in the 6th administration, and we considered the names. As you know, that the process of facilitating a decision, there will be views expressed, there will be different carried by political parties or members on this or the other, but ultimately a decision must be carried, and that decision was carried to appoint the team, and it's led by the Mr. Suzanne. And I think in his introduction, we'll also introduce the names of individuals that were appointed to constitute this team. Now that we are receiving the update, they will deal with the consultation on their space, inviting stakeholders, political parties, and all community members to contribute to this question that is before them. Once they are done with that process, brief the minister tabled the report in the portfolio committee. The portfolio committee then will also establish a process to consult public comments and ultimately bring the report for a deliberation and decision to be taken, and present the report to Parliament for Parliament to consider which electoral system we ought to take moving forward. So those are the key summary I can draw from the reports that we've dealt with. But I think this update will be able to also highlight some of the issues. Well, you can also input when you're dealing with the comments or questions once they've concluded. I must caution that we're not dealing with the IEC matter here, today's meeting, nor the report of the IEC. We've scheduled the report of the IEC later in October, as we've outlined in our last meeting that a debriefing still been conducted within the IEC, and the opportunity to invite the IEC will arise. I think that would assist us, Honorable Ngubane, to proceed without delaying the meeting. But I can confirm to this meeting that we'll circulate the decision process that we've undertaken, and also have an in-committee meeting just to update if members have lost touch with the legacy report that was presented. Does it assist us to move forward, Honorable Ngubane?
It does, Chair. Thank you for that background. I appreciate it. And please, if you can follow up on submitting all the documents, framework and mandate and everything. But I'm emphasizing again, as MK Party would like to be highly vested in the process and engage the panel, because there is much that we might contribute as are the affected party from the 29 May. We might know more about the electoral in this country than any other party, as we've experienced horrendous election happenings in the 29 May. It will be of value for us as MK Party to contribute immensely in this electoral reform panel. Thank you, Chair. I'm highly appreciative of your feedback.
No, thanks. I think there's commitment of all political parties that are in session now, stakeholders that will contribute, including the MK party. I'm trying to assist you, Honorable Ngubane, so that you don't isolate the MK party as the party that carries wisdom around electoral matters, other than other political parties, individuals, stakeholders. So I want to firm up that narrative that we must ground it in a collective of all members who are serving in National Assembly, stakeholders that will contribute immensely to this matter. So I just wanted to ground that narrative to a collective other than a political party. We have not arrived at that stage, but I think it's important that we are firm and decisive on the issues that are rising before this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Sizane. Apologies for disrupting. I think it was important for us to get members to be one on the process. You can proceed.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Honorable Chairperson. I am heavily indebted to the minister's background information and the accurate description of our relationship. I'm also highly indebted to you for giving my introduction and the background to my presentation. And I think I will only align myself with what you have said. Basically, our presentation, in terms of the outline, we thought we would give an introduction and background, and of course, introduce the members of the panel. We'll talk about the support that we've got to be established, which the minister has referred to. We will deal with Mr. Ngubane's request of our terms of reference and where we draw our source of authority. We will talk about the program of action and the approach that we approach our work in terms of the guidance from the Act. And we will give the committee some flavor of the progress that we've done over the 3 months that we have been working. And then I will go to conclusion. Can we move, please? Can the person who's moving the slide move, please?
Who's that person?
Sharing the screen, yes.
Okay, Muzi, can you assist the panel to proceed with the presentation? Oh. Okay, Adams, Mr. Salmon, is there any who can assist? Okay, thank you.
Yes, there it is.
Thank you, proceed.
Introduction and background, please. That has been skipped, yes. Mr. Chairperson, you have already given the introduction and background. And indeed, as you say, there was also the Constitutional Court judgment in 2020, which requested that there must be the inclusion of independence into our electoral system. And that amendment was done by the Portfolio Committee in 2023. Arising from that, because there were wide consultation, the Portfolio Committee, of course, decided that it cannot be able to do a wide review and also amendment of the Act. It just included the independence. And then in the Electoral Act Amendment Act of 2023, then it included a Section 23, which establishes the panel, which after the 2024 elections will then continue to do the work of a broader consultation and also a broader review of the electoral system. Let's move, please. And as it is said, that based on the Electoral Amendment Act of 2023, on the 16th of May 2024, the National Assembly approved the following persons to serve on the Electoral Reform Consultation Panel. Number one, it is Advocate Sizani, who is also a chairperson. We've got Advocate Pensi Tlakula. We've got Miss Matsie Muki. We've got Miss Tomsi Dlamini. We've got Dr. Michael Oliver Sutcliffe. We've got Mr. Patudi Mamabolo. We've got Mr. Michael Hendrikse. We've got Mr. Norman Duplessis. And we have also got Dr. Albertus Skuman. So we are a committee of 9. In May 2024, the Minister of Home Affairs appointed the Electoral Consultation Panel Committee in terms of Section 23 of the Electoral Amendment Act. Let's move, please. And I can just add before I move there that we started Mr. Chairperson in office as the panel of 9 on the 3rd of June 2024. We started on the 3rd of June 2024 to operate as a panel. We have been established, and with this great support of the Department of Home Affairs, as the Minister has said, we have been given strategic support people by the department. We have also been given the Secretariat to support us in our work. The draft budget of the panel is actually managed by the department. It includes most of the things that the panel wants to deal with. Remuneration of members of the panel. It deals with some of the key things: public hearings, submissions to the public, having consultation forums, and also drafting the report and complying with the requirements of legislation. That budget is run by Home Affairs, and we've given and discussed with them the line items. So we do have that. We've also been provided office space and whatever that goes with the office space. Let's move, please. Mr. Chairperson, I'll stay a little bit on item 3, the terms of reference of our panel. In terms of the Electoral Amendment Act, the functions of the panel inter alia are as follows. The first important one and the key is to independently investigate, consult on, report on, and make recommendations in respect of potential reforms of the electoral system for the election of the National Assembly and the elections of the provincial legislatures in respect of the elections to be held after the 2024 elections. To undertake a public participation process regarding the issues falling within its functions. From the date of its establishment, submit a report to the Minister every 3 months on its progress. Within 12 months from the date of its appointment, the panel must submit a report to the Minister of Home Affairs on the possible options for electoral reform for the election of the National Assembly and the elections of the provincial legislature, which must include the proposals for electoral reform. They must also include the reasons for those reforms that are suggested and the options, the potential advantages and disadvantages of that system. We must also present to the Portfolio Committee legal and constitutional implications of our recommendations. And also each model that we recommend to the Portfolio Committee must clearly indicate the financial implications of the proposals that are given. One thing that I would want to point out upfront, Mr. Chairperson, we are not required as the committee, in terms of understanding our terms of reference, to actually recommend a particular system or one system to the portfolio committee. We're supposed to give them options. The section 23 is actually clear. It says we must be able to assist the portfolio committee with sufficient information so that it can carry out its constitutional functions. And therefore, we are supposed to give you full information and recommendations. We are not supposed even to rank the proposal. As our minister is saying, we must keep an open mind, and then we put all those relevant proposals to the portfolio committee. I need also to emphasize that in terms of our timelines, since we started in June, the end of May 2025 will be the 12 months that we will have to submit that report to the minister in May 2025. Let's move, please. Let's move, please. The legislation, of course, makes some escape route for us. In the event the ERCP is unable to submit the report within 12 months, the minister can only grant an extension of not more than 6 months if it is requested in writing in no less than 3 months before the due date of the report. We should know, therefore, by February next year if we are in a position to submit by May or not, and then we can make a request to the minister, and on good cause, the minister can agree or refuse. The ERCP understands this role of, therefore, as advisory to Parliament, and that the final choice rests with Parliament in determining the preferred option of an electoral reform system. The ERCP likewise acknowledges that it may not be possible to investigate all potential electoral systems and global variations, and the ERCP may have to limit itself to those systems that are best suited for the South African context. So we will also go for, in checking there are so many systems, we will go for relevance also. Mr. Chairperson, after the appointment and also after discussing and understanding our terms of reference as we did a program of action and an approach. And we can share with the committee in later relationships and interactions what our program of action is about. But briefly, I'll give you what we have come out with in terms of the requirements of the legislation. We have come out with about 6 phases, Mr. Chairperson. The first phase of us, as required by our mandate in Section 23, is that we must do a research of what is happening and what are the views of people about our electoral system, research other electoral systems, to do comparisons and so on, check the South African environment, to check what systems can we best recommend. The second thing, which is actually emphasized both in our name and also in our mandate, is that we must solicit comments and inputs from the public as part of that investigation. To this date, the ERSP has issued a press statement calling for public submissions regarding the potential reforms of the electoral system. And in that regard, we will place adverts in the media, written, virtual, radio, and social for the public to make submissions. And we've already, of course, done some of this work starting from this August month that has just passed, with our statement being released on the 26th of August. That is calling for submissions as part of the research and soliciting of comments. That is phase 1 of our system. And we continue, of course, to deal with the research work streams that are dealing with research within ourselves as a panel, and of course assisted by the support we've got from the Department of Home Affairs that has provided us with some research capacity and assistance in doing the work, and also to get some facilities to get information to deal with the research. So those are going very well. The second phase, Mr. Chairperson, is that after we receive, of course, the public submissions, we will prepare a discussion paper for now public hearings that are also requested by the legislation, quite clear that we must consult on something. So we will produce both from our research and also from the submissions that we receive from all sectors of our society. And then we will be able to produce a discussion document, which then in phase 3, we will use that document for public participation and consultation to indicate to people, these are the issues that we want to know about your views of this system. It will include both provinces and also national. The fourth phase that we have come out with is that after then we've received the submissions and the public hearings and continuing with our research, we will draft a preliminary report based on the outcome of these processes, which will be presented at a high-level conference of international and local experts to assess proposals and better understand the advantages and disadvantages of different proposals. This, Mr. Chairperson, simply, we've actually considered this as a panel very seriously. We had two options, Mr. Chairperson, because this is what is called benchmarking, where we look for other experiences in other countries. We've decided, instead of us as a panel of 9 dividing ourselves and going to the relevant countries, it's important that we actually look for experts from various countries and bring them to South Africa so that we can share with them our findings and experience, and we can also get experiences and findings from their own jurisdiction. So that is the purpose of the conference, is to ensure that we learn from other people's experiences. When we're finished, then we phase 4. Then in this phase, that is phase 5, the panel will prepare its final report, including a review of the financial and legal implications, the advantages and disadvantages of the proposals that we have made. I do want to indicate this because from the beginning early, because we've identified as one of the issues that, Mr. Chairperson, this phase is serious, and we might have to use quite strong financial people and also strong legal people and senior people to actually certify the legal implications of the proposals we are putting before Parliament, because we have to put them up front, and the legal implications. So in our plan, we need to provide for us to finish the report and give it to those people to do the sums and also to do the legal implications. We ourselves will give the reasons, will give the advantages and disadvantages of our proposals. The final stage, of course, will be for us to table this report within those 12 months to our minister, and the minister is required by law to table it before the portfolio committee or before Parliament after 30 days. These are this is our route towards that from now up to May next year, or if there's a requirement, we might approach the minister for an extension. Let me give the progress up to date after I've indicated that. The progress up to date focuses on the meetings of the ERCP, its guiding principles, the call for public comments, the research work program, and work streams. The panel has agreed to convene fortnightly at a minimum, both virtually and in person. The panel has to date met about 7 times on its program with a particular focus on the following: the adoption of preliminary guiding principles. These are the guiding principles that will help us to actually assess the proposals we are making, whether they are suitable for the South African situation. We are dealing with preliminary desktop research. We have identified themes for our research. We have a program of action that has some timelines. Let's move, please. Coming to the guiding principles, Mr. Chairperson, I do want to state upfront that we have come with about 6 guiding principles, and these, as of now, are not final. They are our proposed starting point to give an idea about what these principles might look like. But as we have been directed by Parliament, we still have to research the matter. We still have to hear South Africans on the matter and in public hearings, so that these might change and the final might be different, because we will have to actually have meaningful consultation and actually use the views that we get from people. And as the minister said, keep our mind open. The principles that we have identified are drawn from the country's founding values as set out in the Constitution in Section 1, to establish a multi-party system of democratic government based on accountability, responsiveness, and openness, to uphold values of human dignity, non-racialism, non-sexism, and the achievement of equality. Therefore, briefly, the initial 6 principles we've identified is that an electoral system for South Africa must be inclusive. It must be fair. It must ensure accountability. It must be simple for our population to operate it. It must also be manageable. We can't afford, like in Congo, to have a ballot paper of about 300 pages and so on. It needs to be simple. And more importantly, also, it must have transparency and integrity. So these are some of these principles I've indicated. They are not the only ones. We still look further and hear from participants what they think we must do. Thank you. I won't go very much. I've already indicated this. We have a research program. Our research program, Chairperson, of course, it must do a mapping exercise, that is benchmarking. We must identify countries and systems which are similar to us and so on, which we can use and check how they operate and how we operate. That's what mapping is about. We also, of course, have to come with the models, because those are the models we are going to present to Parliament. I don't know the number now, but we'll look at that to ensure that Parliament has a choice, and we will, of course, give the reasons and the advantages and disadvantages. The third, we will also have indicators of the guiding principles to see how do we assess those models that we have chosen and so on. We have also touched on sensitive matters that we are researching, the question of electoral systems on intra-party and inter-party relationship, because our system largely now of electoral system is based on the party system. So we cannot avoid not to look at the role of political parties in our electoral system. Mr. Chairperson, we will have, of course, to understand that we are doing this within the South African context. So we will have to look in terms of our research on the South African experience and the perceived challenges with the current system. We don't want to presume them. The instructions from the legislation and Parliament is that go and search this question and also take views of South Africans. Then we will also look at cases of electoral reform. What causes electoral reform? What do they impact do they create? And what have they done in other countries? What will they do? What will they improve in our own situation? We'll look at that. Of course, we will focus strongly because as our name also suggests that we're a consultation panel, we will take serious account of the public submissions and the hearings. We will focus on the advantages and disadvantages. We will be professional, objective, as we have promised to do, to provide all these things on all the systems for Parliament to be able to take clear decisions on these things. And we do have work streams among ourselves who are leading these things and supported occasionally by the support groups, both of researchers and also of the secretariat. Let's proceed, please. As I've indicated, Chairperson, part of our first phase, which is our first phase now that we're operating on, was to actually call for public submissions to the public to give us submissions, and the closing date is the 30th of September this year. But it's not necessarily a closing date, it's a soft lock, Mr. Chairperson, because we are also going into public hearings. So the public hearings and the calls for submission might interface as we go on, which public hearings themselves we will look at starting around November. And part of that work, we will really be indebted to work with legislatures, both at national and at provincial level, so that we can also ensure that we reach all the stakeholders. It's a very serious task that we have done. And just to say, although we have the call for submissions that we issued on the 26th of August, that is out, I just want to crisply put the question that we are putting to members of the public, Mr. Chairperson. Our question is, why, how, and whether the South African electoral system should be reformed, changed, or even replaced. So we are asking the public to give that, whether this system should be changed, reformed, and so on. If it should be changed, how? And so on. So that is the crisp question that we have put to the public and so on. We have, of course, a host of stakeholders. We will still accept that. One of the things that at least personally I did on behalf of the panel, I wrote to all the chief whips of the political parties in the National Parliament to present this for the political parties represented in Parliament, the 18 of them. We have also sent it to the provincial legislatures through, again, that network of chief whips. We have sent it also to municipalities. We have sent to business organizations, to trade unions, to academic institutions. We are also sending it to the houses of traditional leaders, both the National House and the provincial houses. So we are going as much as possible, and even we're going especially to civil society, and we even have met civil society, CASAC, we have met Abashali Basem Jondolo, we have also even met a number of organizations to try and work on this matter. We have been on the radio, we have been on TV to try and pull this. In this September, again, as a panel, we'll refocus and ensure that we drive this public process, and would appreciate, Chairperson, through you, that also the Portfolio Committee assists us in ensuring that this process is successful, because our task really is to consult and hear views, not to express our own wishes. Let's move, please. Mr. Chairperson, there's nothing I need to say here. The Minister has already indicated we've got the commitment from the department and DG Makode. They are assisting us. They have provided us with the facilities. There's more that we're still going to ask for them, especially in the area of money, as we're doing public hearings and as we are doing conferencing and as we are doing research. and trying to cover as much as possible. And we are working very well. The lines of communication are open, and we think there's nothing, for instance, for us to raise as something that we want. We are getting the support, and we are discussing what kind of support, what are the challenges, and what better systems we can deal. Even on communication, we've been assisted. Thank you. Let's move. Chairperson, this is just a flavor of what we're doing. And we're going to continue with this program and so on. And we promise, Mr. Chairperson, this portfolio committee, we've made also this promise to our minister. We'll try to work as hard as possible, but as wide as possible and as deep as possible and as fair as possible to hear everybody, but ensure that we meet our deadline of May 2025 for proposals for the elections of 2029. We don't, in our hearts, intend to ask for the minister for the extension of 6 months, but we don't know what will happen. So if we get enough cooperation and we get these things quickly, we do have a plan, Mr. Chairperson, and our intention is to finish on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Advocate Suzanne, for the detailed update. What we'll do, honorable members, will interact with the presentation. Advocate Suzanne, you are allowed to invite your colleagues if there are matters they want to respond to or contribute. Then we'll invite the administration, the DG, and then the DPM and the minister, if there are issues that will be arising from that front. I see the hand before I conclude. Is there any matter, Honorable Mukhale?
No. I thought you have opened the platform for engagement, the chair.
No, sorry. Yeah, I was saying to outline how we must work so that we are easy on the approach. Mr. Matonsi, you'll assist me to note the hands that are up so that I note and I allow them. Can, for us who want to contribute, raise our hands so that Mr. Matonsi, just assist me so that I note. I see Honorable Mukhale, Honorable Ngubane. Who else, Mr. Matonsi?
Chairperson, for now, I think those are the only two hands I see. So.
All right, Chairperson.
Okay, I see Honorable Rose, Honorable
and Honorable Mujisempia.
Honorable Mutambi. Yeah. Okay. Honorable.
There's a hand, a statement by Honorable Kojani, Chair. She can't raise her hand.
Oh, Kojani, okay. So, Honorable Kojani. Thank you. I hope you pronounce well the same name, because yesterday, last meeting, she corrected us, Mr. Muzi. So we'll start with Honorable Mukhale, then we'll invite Honorable Mutambi, and we'll invite Honorable Ngubane, we'll invite Honorable Rose, we'll invite Honorable Kojani, and we'll then invite Honorable Disimza. Those are the hands that have been recognized. You can lower your hands. I think I've noted invites. Proceed, Honorable Mukhale.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and greetings to all the colleagues. And we welcome the presentation by Advocate Zani. As my point of departure, Chairperson, I just want to state categorically that while we support the panel and its work, however, we objected the composition of this panel. So I want all members of parliament to note that we support the panel, but we're not happy with the composition, particularly that of Advocate Tlakula, whom we have characterized as a person that we don't think she's proper and fit to be forming part of such an important panel because of our experience in the past with her. Secondly, Chair, on the issue of the researcher, which Advocate Sindani has pointed out, that is one of the issues that they are requesting assistance from the department. So I just want to find out, do they want the department to second a researcher, or are they going to advertise and get somebody to come and assist them in that role? So just need clarity on that. And then secondly, in terms of the program of action, we note the program of action that it has different phases. However, there are no clear timelines, because remember that this panel must report to Parliament within 12 months. So we don't see timelines to say by this time, this particular phase would have been done, then we'll move to the next phase. So if we can get clear timeframes in terms of those different phases. And then again, Chair, we would like the Commission to also pay a particular attention to the issue of money in the electoral politics of South Africa. Because we have identified, we have seen the influence of large single donors and their influence in terms of determining the outcome, of influencing the outcome of our election. So it's one aspect that we would also ask them to pay particular attention to. And other things as well is on the last one, Chair, is on the public participation that they have will be rolled out in 2 phases, where they are starting with taking submissions from the public, and then to be followed by a broader public consultation. We really want to emphasize this point to the panel, that let public consultation be as wide as possible and be genuine public participation. It must not be micromanaged or controlled. It must be genuine. They must allow inputs from the broader society, from everyone who's interested to make contributions in terms of this electoral reform. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. A contribution, Honorable Mukhale. Honorable Mutambi.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Sorry, Chairperson. Sorry, Chairperson. Can I ask, please, if there's guidance, if it's allowed by you? I'm not imposing. I would be interested to know sometimes, if it's possible, like which party is talking, because I don't know the honorable members. It's up to you, Chairperson, but I would want to know if it's possible.
I will not take that route, Honorable Chairperson Suzanne, because this meeting is constituted by members of Parliament. I will not want to direct members to introduce themselves. It will be up to them. But it will be important that we appreciate the standing of this meeting. We'll interact on that platform, but if members they want to introduce themselves, that's why I did not introduce myself from any political party. I'm a member of the committee chairing a collective and guided by the collective. So I note your concerns, but I think if members want to introduce, they can do that. But I will not direct them to do so. Proceed, Honorable Mutambi.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to all of you colleagues and all the attendees of the meeting. I think firstly, I would like, and thanks for the opportunity, Chair. I would like to appreciate the progress that the panel is doing. But at the same time, I think it will be prudent for the committee for the panel to share with us with regard to the progress report that they've said they've already submitted to the minister, especially with regard to the key issues that they've raised. And then, yeah, that's an issue. But also to come in, Chair, this is not the first process that has been gone through with regard to the electoral reforms. There have been several reviews over the years, which the latest one, of course, was the Van Zyl-Slabbert report. And then there were recommendations that were made that didn't see any light anyway. I want to just get it from the panel with regard to their work, current work, to say, is it not another waste of money that is gonna be wasted? What do they think? Will their recommendation actually have impact and make it to the powers that be that they then adhere to their recommendation? And the other issue with regard to which the colleague earlier has said, it's in relation to public participation. You know our country and where we come from, especially the most rural poor. For them, even access to TV or newspaper is still a luxury. And then also the issue of language. That becomes very critical because other people don't speak English. I want to know exactly where did you put the adverts for public submissions so that it can reach everyone. Did you consider the use of community media that is there, or you've just advertised only to these mainstream media that are found in cities and towns where the rural poor won't have access? And then also with regard to the issue of the public, I'm linking it with the issue you said you are going to do the actual public participation. My issue is always on the same. How do you make sure that actually the most rural poor in the outskirts from the cities, because normally when you see these things are done, they are done in cities, in towns that live the most marginalized. Does the panel have a strategy to deal with that? So those are my issues that I want clarity on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mutambi. Honorable Ngubani.
Thank you very much, Chair, for this opportunity again. Chair, I have a proposal, Chair. The panel started to work. I think they said they started to work in June, 20th June this year. And my assumption, Chair, I stand to be corrected, Chair. You will correct me if maybe my assumption is wrong. My assumption is that, Chair, the debate before of the electoral reform in the country was solely based on whether we want to have a constituency-based electoral systems or political party systems or independent, etc., etc. My assumption, Chair, is that the 29th May of 2024 has brought in another new experience for this electoral system of this country to be seriously reformed. The issue now is no longer about whether we need to choose between a constituency-based or political party-based system. The issue has grown more than that, Chair. I propose, Chair, that we need to relook at the scope of this electoral reforms panel, Chair, and see if many political parties, taking into consideration the experience of the 29th May, that has that on its own contributed for the scope of this panel to be changed or to grow or to be re-looked at. Hence, Chair, I was emphasizing that a lot of things has happened on the 29th May, which has given us another view of the election system of this country, of many things. Some of them I wouldn't want to mention in a negative way, but of many things that we've seen that all along we were taking a nap and thinking that in this country, election is free and fair, whereas on some political party, it wasn't free and fair. So I think, Chair, we need to relook at the scope of this electoral panel to assist this panel so that it just doesn't just do a by the way of what was previously thought of, as I mentioned, the constituency system versus the political party system. So we need to relook at the scope, Chair. And secondly, Chair, I agree with the first colleague of ours in this committee who has said, us as well, Chair, we reject the composition of this panel. There's a tendency in this country of thinking that you will do things for people, but without the people themselves involved. This is another scenario, Chair, of a critical panel of this country called Electoral Reform Consultation Panel, which is done for political parties, but without political parties being involved. When I was looking at the panel, Chair, most of the people there are people who come from way back close to 94, who have been comfortable with the current electoral system of the country. You can see when you look at their qualifications or the people there, most of them are people who will be yes sir or yes ma'am to the current electoral system. I suggest, Chair, that we at least include maybe 3 or more political party representatives to this panel, or have them have a say. If it's not there, who would they like to propose as a proposal, Chair? Because in this country, we have a tendency of doing things for people and not letting them getting involved in doing things for themselves. And then we come at the end of the day, we table a report for them, and we'll tell them that this report was done by experts, the advocate, the professors, and it serves your purpose, whereas the people themselves that are involved, these elections, electoral system in this our country, mostly doesn't affect these advocates, these professors that are in this panel. It affects political parties of this country who spend millions and millions campaigning, going to speak to people and getting a feel of what other people feel about the politics of this country. So I suggest, Chair, that we look at involving political parties that are in charge in this country, that are involved, and they must be part and parcel of this electoral system. And Chair, on another note, I was not comfortable, Chair, when the progress report was presented. The same similar situation when the progress report was presented, Chair. It has no date or timelines. You don't know when they're going to finish which task at what date. It's just a fluffy presentation of saying we're going to do X, Y, Z. We need to attach dates and timeline and attach people or stakeholder that is responsible for a specific task, so that we know that who's doing what at what time and how far the process is. The other issue, Chair, in this country, we have a tendency of calling things that we want things to be transparent and have integrity, and we always use terms loosely, transparency and integrity. And at the end of the day, when we look at those transparency and integrity, we find that even those transparency and integrity are flawed. They are made to be flawed on the purpose to benefit a certain individual or certain group of people. So we need to try, when we speak about, we want to instill transparency and integrity, and make sure that we instill that, what we want to implement, and not just use those terms loosely. As I was hearing on the presentation, to say we're doing this so that we can have transparency and integrity on the process. Let's use the term for what it is and make sure that we mean serious business when we use those terms. I note that the presentation as well speak about on the electoral system that should be reformed. It will be asking why and how. And I think those questions, Chair, will be answered when we receive the other document that you said you're going to give it to us of the mandate of this electoral panel, because I think the how, why, how, when, who will be answered on there, Chair, on the mandate of this electoral panel. Again, I'm emphasizing, Chair, let's really look at the scope of this electoral panel. This is a very critical and crucial panel that we yearn to see it coming out with concrete changes of the electoral system of this country. And then we want to know, Chair, the deadline of May 2025. There is a 2026 local government election coming. So we want to know whether the deadline of the 2025 of this electoral panel will be informing that 2026 elections, local government elections. Because when you do these things of looking at electoral reform systems, you need to firstly test your output. So we need to test it somewhere, either on by-elections or either on 2026 local government elections. So there's somewhere where we need to test the output of this thing. For example, Chair, what is happening currently in South Africa is an injustice. We have a tendency of seeing wrong things happening and we just turn a blind eye. Currently, as I'm speaking, Chair, the by-elections that are going on in this country, if not all of them, some of them are flawed. We have a tendency of passing people. We must speak these things in public if we want to be honest about electoral reform in this country. We have an issue here where the IEC, you can bus people from one ward to another and go win elections. There are other wards where the other party, on the 29th May, when you look at the results, it won those wards with 90%. But when it's by-elections, tables are turned, that 90% is not reflected. Because at that time, on the 29th May, everyone was voting. There's no one who had the time to be bussed from one ward to another. So people were on their places and doing fair, free and fair election. So that's where you saw the actual people sitting on their ward voting. Now, because it's by-elections, some other political parties are bussing people, moving from one ward to another, and things are turned around. The other party that is not supposed to win is winning. But that on its indication, it needs to inform this electoral panel of why do we want it, do we see its work as the critical work to look at those flawed processes of our election systems, which up until today, the IEC has never pronounced a thing about it. But we keep on complaining and nobody's hearing it. Hence, Chair, I'm emphasizing again to say the scope of this committee has grown more than looking at those constituency-based or elections. So we need to re-look at it and see how can we change it and incorporate another thing. There's a lot of things, Chair, I can go on and on in relations to this electoral panel, that it needs to look at the IEC itself. How do they do things from the beginning, right up until the end? For example, the one-day election vote, when the registration of the voters ballooned to approximately 24 million or 20 million, but you're still keeping the election day at 1 day. And then you end up denying people their rights to vote because you are sticking at the 1 day, a day of voting. Even if the registration has ballooned, the interest of voting has grown, but we keep on going on the same route of getting used to this, doing the same thing. So there's a lot of things. Chair, all what I'm asking from this panel, let's not do things for the sake of doing them and waste taxpayers' money. This electoral panel is important for this country. Let's assist it to turn things around so that our generations, the kids that are coming from us, any kid from the township anywhere, can rise up into political leadership fairly, contest and win fairly without being disadvantaged because some other people have experience of how to corrupt the system or how to play around the system or how people are getting paid in the corners. Even the issue of involving international companies in the South African election system. All those things, this panel needs to look at it. You can't have an American company or a UK company getting involved in elections systems of South Africa. That's interference on its own. All these things, Chair, needs to come out from this committee. In closing, Chair, I'm repeating, let's look at the scope of this panel and try and have and make use of it so that we can get value, a complete holistic value of it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ngobani, for your contributions. Honorable Kojana.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think you are referring to me. Kojane, is that fine? May I continue?
Yes, proceed, Honorable.
Thank you, Chairperson. And good morning. I think it's a morning to the Minister and the panel and our honorable members. I would just like to start on the top of the invitation or the letter that was sent to the Chief Whips. If it could please also be sent to me, I would then give my Parliament email if that is necessary. The second question is that the ERCP had said that there is a question posed to the public, and the question deals with why, how, and when electoral reform, if necessary, should happen or should be changed. I'd like to know what is the information that is shared with the public as background to motivate the question, so that we do not confuse voters on that. There's quite a bit that needs to be taken into consideration and the context to be explained to the public before we can ask them if there should be electoral reform. For example, this was our first time having the 3 different ballots, and these kind of issues might confuse the public not knowing, because there were many comments that came out after where people would say, I was not sure what the political parties do on a national level as opposed to a provincial or local level. And I would have wanted to change my vote, for instance, as an example. And how do we also ensure that there is impartiality when members of the public go to voting stations and they are wearing party regalia? Some people may be treated different because of their known association to a specific political party. And this then goes against the principles of free and fair elections. And then the third one, if there are already existing strategies on structures, policies, and procedures, as well as the technical innovations, and these specific issues or aspects I've mentioned now has a legal implication or responsibility. For instance, do we have a balance of staff that speaks to gender, perhaps, that are there representing, in order also to make informed voting accessible for especially women, youth, and people with disabilities? Because we do know in the previous elections, it was the youth that had not turned out in their numbers, and we need to encourage that participation. And how are we then bringing them along on this journey? As Honorable Ngobani also had said, when we have one day used for voting, it does become extremely problematic. I myself have experienced that. And the ballots that were previously designed, if I may ask, what was the criteria then, and why had it then changed now where we have the 3 ballots, which did result in members of the public waiting extremely long in the lines? What are we going to do to improve that situation? On the issue of international donors, how do we now, I guess, circumvent that there won't be a direct influence from international donors on the electoral system or on a proposed electoral reform? Then on the issue of the public participation, where the RCP had said that there is a variety of written, virtual, radio, and social media platforms. Have they been identified, and what was the criteria to be identified? As the other honorable members have said, it's very, very important that we reach a lot of public members that are in areas that are not easy to access. And then also the issue of a language barrier that may be posed by using English. I know that the presentation spoke about interpreters. In this instance, I think we are calling for not only interpreters, but members that are then working there to disseminate this information to be multilingual in order to help the poorest of our public. And the progress report, if that can also be made available to us on the significant progress that's been made since the establishment of the board. If we can please see the progress report and have regular interaction with it so that we may know where we could assist in changing, or I guess maybe advising as we are doing in this committee. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much for your contributions, Honorable Ross. Thank you, Honorable Kojana, for your contribution. Honorable Ross.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Mr. Sizani for the presentation. Chair, I'm a little bit concerned that the panel is requesting a researcher now, unless I misunderstood that. My understanding is that the research component is part of phase 1, which should be almost complete by now. Phase 1 talks about doing the research and then calling for public participation, which should be done by the 30th of September. So I just want to understand, is this phase not almost finished? I mean, we established this council in May. So we've had 4 months now of a project that is supposed to take 12 months. So I just want to get more clarity, Chairperson, on that. Where are we with that, with the research component? Is it behind? Is it going to go into the next section? And, you know, I agree with colleagues about the timeframes. I think we need clarity on the timeframes. And I'd like to request, Chair, that the Gantt chart that is mentioned in the presentation be sent to Eddie for distribution to members so that we understand exactly what the timeframes are. Because the challenge is, Chair, and as you know, this committee has come under much criticism in the past for delaying things, for being late with electoral reforms. And often we have been waiting for things. We've been waiting for things from a minister. We've been waiting for things from somewhere before we are able to start our work. And so I think it's critical, Chair, that we are able to get much more detailed information about where we are supposed to be so that we can do oversight on that on a constant basis. We only get a report every 3 months. And there's only, 8 months left before the first process. So I think we need that more detailed information so that we can satisfy ourselves that progress is happening as quickly as possible. Because if we're going to have a 6-month extension, that's going to take us to November 2025. And then you already have the December period. Then the ministry only can start with putting the electoral processes together. So we're going to find ourselves in a big crush if we do not definitely by November 2025 have this work finished, Chair. Then in terms of the public participation, I think it's rightly been raised by Honourable Matambi in terms of how we making sure that we reach to all sectors of society. And my concern is also, it seems to be that there's advertisements that are picked up in perhaps areas where the middle class can easily access it. And I'd like to ask what efforts have been made to engage with all different sectors of society. So the poorest of the poor. And here we are saying, it's not just a matter, public participation is not just a matter of saying, there's electoral reform, what do you think? There's also an element of allowing persons to make informed contributions. So at what stage of this process will we also engage with different sectors of society and some that might not be part of mainstream media and have email to send comments, et cetera, so that we can ensure that all sectors of society are informed about electoral reform and can make informed contributions. Then I'd also like to ask about specific sectors like prisoners. So I'm imagining, and I'm not sure whether prisoners have access to the media and that they might do. that they would see this advertisement. So has care been taken to ensure that the prisoners are also to give inputs, as well as voters abroad. And I think there's, there's action in court at the moment in this regard. But the basis of that was the fact that there are millions of South Africans abroad that cannot vote because they have to travel a far distance. And so there's mention of advertisements. I'd like to understand what advertising mediums have been used to reach out to the diaspora, so persons abroad. For example, in areas where there are many South Africans, there might be newsletters, et cetera, where that those people would consume. That's it from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ross, for your contributions. Honorable Modise.
Thank you very much, Chair. One will be quick. I think I also shared the same sentiments and concerns of members with regards to the timeframes. And having had listened to the presentation, I think it's safe to say that it may seem as if the panel will indeed need an extension for them to be able to do a thorough process with regard to this electoral reform research that they must be able to engage in. So I'd want to urge the committee, particularly to afford this panel an opportunity to do their jobs without us coming with our own political party views to influence this process. We as the ANC, we actually reaffirms the decisions of Parliament in line with the Electoral Act for the establishment of this electoral panel. You'd remember that these initiatives were necessitated or were informed by the views expressed by the stakeholders, the NGOs, civil society organizations, which then would have prompted the Parliament to carry this decision, which has demonstrated largely that Parliament's attitude really does take the views of members of the public or of its citizens into consideration. Hence, we would have arrived as a Parliament to a decision to establish this panel. It was not necessarily informed by the activism or the political parties' participation, but it was due to the views that were expressed lastly by the citizens of this country or the people. We must also then appreciate the department, the minister, the DM, and the DG in demonstrating that they are prepared to give sufficient support to this cause. We know that we are not doing it for ourselves, but we are doing it for the benefit of the democracy that our country is in and for its people. We want to allay also the fears of members that once the panel has done its work, we are the ones as the committee designated in Parliament to deal with this matter, to interrogate the reports that the panel will be bringing. Thereafter, once that process has been sufficiently done, Parliament is the one that is going to take a decision on what kind of an electoral system we feel as a Parliament we should take as a country. Therefore, allowing the panel to do its work, affording this panel to do its work, really would work best for us as members of this committee, but also for Parliament largely. Chair, the issue that has also been raised with regard to the research not being in place yet, it is really worrisome. I want then to make a request to the department, the minister, that please ensure that there is sufficient support in ensuring that this panel is able to have adequate support needed for them to be able to embark on its process. But the sooner we can be able to get clear timelines and timeframes in regards to their work and them reporting back to us or to Parliament, it's going to be important, Chair. But I would want to advise the panel that whilst you are embarking on a work and you are developing that proper timelines, if you don't have yet, because they were not presented to us in a clear manner, please consider making sure that you do make necessary a request for you to get an extension. Judging or looking or having listened to this presentation, I'm of the view, Chair, that by February or May next year, the panel would have not done sufficient work. Taking into consideration the public participation that must happen, I agree with the members that have expressed that it must be a thorough process. It must be able to reach each and every citizens, each and every stakeholder, each and every civil or society organization. The public must be able to engage in this process. You must also take into consideration the type of a media that you will be utilizing, the language that you'll be utilizing in order for the people of the South Africa to be able to express their views and participate in this manner. So, Chair, I will end there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mudisem. I'm sure all of us have contributed to the presentations. There are two issues which appear that we may need to advise or guide the committee. Chairperson, in your presentation, you outlined extensive work that need to be done by the committee in terms of this subject matter. And you have indicated that you have now invited political parties and the NGOs to respond to their public comments or public submissions, which you have a deadline on the date. And it appears that members may have not noted, as they expressed. It's a matter that I think we may need to consider to extend the deadline of the date, maybe to end of October, to give sufficient time also for political parties, because submissions it require also that they must engage in research and consolidation of the views that need to be deposited to the commission. We have noted the expressed views carried by all members in terms of fairness of this process and extensive consultation both in urban and rural areas. So I think that we may need to consider to extend the date of the date to October. I mean, it's a matter that I think we can respond to it, but I feel strongly that I'm drawing from the members' interaction. The second point that which you may not respond to it are issues that are resting with the IEC, so that you don't take responsibility on the issues that are resting with the IEC in terms of the Electoral Commissions Act, and that we're still awaiting for a detailed report by the IEC. And I get a sense strongly that some of the issues that Honorable Ngubane and others may influence process and decision making, so that we're able to have a coherent respond when we deal with your report once you've concluded. So those are the two issues that I wanted to raise with the panel. But members have raised the issues, have commented on the questions that are requested from yourself. We'll then, after a response, determine on how we are going to interface with this panel, given that there are timeframes that have been raised sharply by members, and I think we may need to get into that space. I will not encourage that we deal with the scope of the panel that has been defined in the Electoral Act, and I think we're clearer on what is the responsibility of the panel, because at this stage we're not yet as the committee going to deliberate and take decisions that must go into the parliament. That once the panel has brought before the committee options that we may need to consider, we still have to test those options with the community or the public or the NGOs on our process of public consultations. Thereafter, we'll then contribute as members of the committee and parliament on the discourse we must take and also on the resolve that we must adopt of Parliament. So I'm trying to allay fears that issues that are raised here are not going to be decided. These committee members or members of the Parliament from various political parties will contribute and engage on this process. Once all the consultation has been done on your part of the committee and also on the part of the portfolio committee. We're also taking that is also our responsibility, Chair, that as part of the process, both political parties and the portfolio committee or Parliament, we must collectively take responsibility to contribute to the awareness of this question of the Electoral Reform Panel. I will invite yourself, the chair and your committee. You'll determine who are you inviting from the committee to respond to the comments, and I will invite the Director General and the Deputy Minister and the Minister to deal with the areas that have been raised of administrative support by the department and the understanding of the timeframes that we need to deal with. Chairperson Suzanne, in your collective.
Thank you, Chairperson. The members and we had agreed that they'll come forward and respond. I will also assist.
Yeah, just identify is Mr. Ngubani, Mr. Mkhale, Mr. Chabani, so that we note and then we're able to invite them to the platform. And how many are going to respond so that because we're working on time and members must go to plenary at 2 o'clock. Thank you, Mr. Suzanne.
Okay, colleagues, there's colleague Muki, there's colleague Norman Duplessis, there is colleague Riaz, and there's also colleague Skuman, Dr. Skuman, who I saw he was here, and so I'm opening to them to start the responses.
Okay, if they want to respond, they can raise their hands. If not, then we'll just proceed to you, Chairperson Suzanne.
But that's fine.
If you want to add after you have raised, I see the hand of Dr. Skuman. You can start, Dr. Skuman.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if I'll be able to go into all of the questions, but I would like to touch on a few. I think particularly on the issue of timelines. I had assumed that the full quarterly report would be shared with the committee, but I don't think that seems to be the case. In our full quarterly report, in one of the appendixes, we have the full Gantt chart that sets out the timelines that we've established. This is a work in progress. I think a lot of the things we'll have to see as we go along that we will have to make adjustments. But I think at this point that we have established quite a firm timeline that we're sticking to ensure that we're able to complete our work within the next year. I might just, for the committee's benefit, give you a few of the key dates that we've set in the Gantt chart to manage our timeline. The first one, as we've mentioned, is the call for public submissions with a deadline of the end of September. But I note the chairperson's suggestion to potentially extend that call for submissions. In parallel to that, we have already started our research program, and we have various deadlines for each of the work streams where we'll have initial panel discussions on the various areas that need to be researched. But all of that would be working towards the discussion paper, which our chair mentioned, with our current plan being that discussion paper will be published at the start of December. The idea is that discussion paper will then serve as the basis for our in-depth public consultations, going out to communities, to political parties, to civil society organizations, to share that discussion paper and to hear their views on suggestions for electoral reform. So the way that we've designed our program, we have multiple opportunities for public participation, both through written submissions in this first stage that will feed into the discussion paper, but also at a later stage, starting in December and most likely going into February, where we will be out in the field, so to speak, meeting with communities, to discuss the prospects of electoral reform. And then after that, we will have this high-level conference where we will pull in international experts to address some of the issues that came out of the public participation events. And that will then feed into the final report, which will be published, which will be shared with the Minister on the 29th of May to table in Parliament for discussion. But on the question of public participation, we've also recognized the issue of language. I know that other similar commissions, for example, the Presidential Climate Commission, I know that they have in the past had challenges with local languages when they speak, when they meet with rural communities. And that's something that we've kept in mind, that we're learning from other similar panels' experience in community consultation. And so we're trying to be quite strategic in how we construct our public participation work program, and thinking through some of those questions around how we can make this more accessible so that we can enable effective participation. And that, I think, in a lot of cases will need some careful thinking on our part to ensure that we explain the different aspects of electoral systems and the different concepts in a very clear way that everybody can understand it so that they can effectively participate. But we're thinking very creatively. We have talked about publishing adverts in community newspapers across all 9 provinces. We're in discussions around the potential of a survey that would not necessarily ask the difficult technical questions, but that would think more about the question of what are the kinds of values that are important for the public when thinking through different types of electoral systems. But one point that I want to raise that I think ties in both with public participation, but I think it was Honorable Member Ngubane's question on the role of political parties. In terms of public participation, there's a lot that our panel can do, but I would also encourage that the political parties have an important role to play in engaging with their constituents, with their members, and with the broader public to understand what their views are on what is important for them in terms of how they would like to vote and how they engage with our voting system. And I think in terms of our relationship with political parties, our role as this panel, the way that I see it, is that we are doing our best to collect all of the evidence and as much as we can, the views of the public around what the different options for electoral systems could be, so that we could prepare a range of recommendations that will ultimately be a decision that needs to be taken by Parliament. All that we can do is to collect the available evidence, provide an understanding of what the implications of different electoral systems could be, but ultimately this is a policy decision that Parliament will have to make, and that then following our report, the next stage of this broader discussion and debate, public debate on electoral reform, that is something that the political parties will have to take forward following our report, to have those discussions amongst political parties, with their members, with the voters, to understand what these implications might be of the different options of electoral systems. But that is something, that is a decision that Parliament will have to make. And all that we can do is to, as widely as we can, look at all the available evidence and research, put that together so that political parties can fully understand what the implications might be of different systems. And I think, Chair, finally, just to the question of research, I want to assure the committee that we have had some initial discussions, and we have identified somebody that we are interested in bringing on board as a researcher. But this does not mean that research has not been happening. We have quite an extensive research program that we've already identified, that we've already started working on research. We have quite a few people on the panel who have experience with this sort of thing. And so we are currently engaging in research, but the proposed researcher that we would like to onboard to support our work, I think would help with drafting some of the larger reports, particularly the discussion document that we mentioned, as well as the final report. So it's just additional capacity to supplement our existing efforts around the research. what we have to acknowledge is that all of the members on this electoral reform panel, we also have other responsibilities and other jobs that keep us busy. And as much as we try to put in a lot of time, often working weekends and meeting into evenings to do research and to prepare this work, that it would be advantageous if we were able to hire a researcher to augment our capacity. I'll leave it at that point. I hope that covers most of the questions. And thank you to the committee for having us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Skuman. Chairperson?
Yes, Chairperson. If there's no other colleague, I can come in. I just wanted to see if the last colleagues, is there any other colleague who want to come in, Chairperson? And I'll be guided by you. If you want me to round up, please, I can come back.
Yeah,
I don't want to stop colleagues.
Yeah, colleagues. Okay, it appears that there's no one want to comment, but you will still allow, even if they want to come after you have commented.
Yes.
Advocate Suzanne.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Chairperson, for the introductory meeting we have had with the panel, with the portfolio committee. I must say that we welcome the views of the panel. Some of them, as the members have indicated, we will ask through you, Chairperson, to actually respond in writing, like we will send a Gantt chart and so on, and deal with the issue of the program of action that we have and is submitted. And I must say, Ms. Chairperson, for the issue of the quarterly report is a matter that the law requires us to submit to the minister. It's the minister who decides about when to send it here. It's not the panel's job to send the report, but we are available to provide the thing. So there is no mistake there. We came to just give you the heads up on what we are dealing with. I must say that I appreciate and the assistance of the portfolio committee, and we are going to need much more of it on the question of public hearings and public participation, because they have also an experience, so they can assist us in dealing with those matters. But I must say, we are intending as a panel to actually do as wide and as in-depth public participation as possible. We have looked at the question of the language. As of now, 3 approaches that we are making were assisted by the Department of Communication in the department. We are going to talk to the Cultural and Linguistic Commission to assist us sometime with even in the written things to submit them. But we've also looked at the issue which our communication from the department is looking at, of actually using the platforms of the SAPC, which are radios, so that we can reach even community radios and so on, and to talk, and also members amongst ourselves and others who know different languages can appear in those things. We are also looking at the GCIS platform, and Honorable Member Mdambi would know that we are also talking with them through the communication to ensure that we do actually even voice tapes, which they can publish throughout. We are, of course, working with all the networks of traditional leadership, civil society, and so on, and give the information, and also Parliament and political parties to deal with this matter. We are going to try to do everything reasonably possible to do that, but we are certainly going to need the assistance. The adverts are going to also be put, and we've agreed as a panel that on the 9th, because we started issuing these things quite clearly on the 26th of August. On the 9th, well, we're again going to review that, and we're also going to add some of the valuable inputs that the members have said in order to ensure that we really do admit that our mandate is about consultation, is about public participation, is about hearing, and of course, is about research. I do want to emphasize, Mr. Chairperson, that the department has provided us the support and the issue of research. I just want the members to rest again, just to emphasize that research is not merely a function of external support. We ourselves are researchers, and we ourselves are in work streams. Research is actually happening. Literature review has been done by us, and reading of previous commission reports and case studies and so on. And a number of people are experiencing those things. So we will actually be able to do something, but we do need assistance, and we've asked for that assistance. The department has set up the process. The appointments are done and seconded by the department, as one member wanted to know. So it's true that the appointments and secondments are done through the Office of the Director General to us, but we're always in easy contact with the Director General. So we've not had problems in terms of the assistance that we've been given. And that work of research is continuing. And I do want to also emphasize to members that the research, although it is put at a phase of starting, but the kind of research that we are going to do for this report is actually continuous until we reach the final report. We will not drop doing a report. And there's a question that has been raised on international donors. As far as we understand, the minister and the deputy minister and the DG have promised that government, through the Department of Home Affairs, will fund this work of this committee. And we've not been asked, and it's not our task, we've not been asked to look for any outside donors or do any fundraising. So we are fully and funded, as we have been assured by the minister and the DG, that they will fund the work relating to this matter. Chairperson, I said the timelines we will send in as we promised. And I appreciate part of research, and I appreciate some of the inputs that have been made to us about the issue of ensuring that we also look of the issue of the role of the money in electoral politics. These are some of the submissions we will get to. And we've had also some of the things, we will not answer them directly now, but when we discuss, we've had, for instance, the issue of the possible extension, but we can't answer that of submissions. We will review what has been done, and we will be in touch, and we will also brief the committee about that. And I would like Chairperson to end on that, because our colleagues have responded to a number of the matters that have been raised by members. Others that we might not have answered, we will actually come back with a response in writing, Mr. Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Suzanne. I'm now inviting the Director General, Mr. Makode.
No, thanks, Chairperson, and thanks to the Chair of the committee. I suppose he's covered almost all the questions. Safe to say from our side, we'll continue to provide the necessary support, and they have made a recommendation in terms of the research that's required, and the department is in the process of finalizing that. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, DG. Deputy Minister, we're inviting you to comment.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to all the members of the Portfolio Committee present, the members of the panel, and the management complement of the Department of Home Affairs that has joined us today. In terms of the responses, Chair, I think the first issue is that I will plead that we do not confuse the issue of electoral reform and the IEC operations related report when it comes to the previous elections and all the issues. I think the IEC as an independent entity will come to the portfolio committee and it will deal with all the issues that pertain to the operations of the IEC and how the previous elections were managed. And subsequently from there, all the members of the portfolio committee and all parties involved, including even us, will be able to deal with the issue, because we must all remember that the IEC still exercises a sense of independence. It is actually a Chapter 9 institution that is expected to come on its own here, so that we just do not carry the burdens of the IEC and place them on the Electoral Reform Panel. Now, as the DG has indicated, that our role as a department is to offer technical support and resource support to the panel, and we'll continue to do that. The resource capacity in terms of research capacity and requests for staffing on any other issues will come as recommendations from the panel. There will not be people who will be appointed directly by the department, so they will run their process and then will offer support from there. Now, as a means to a background, the establishment of the panel so that we can also refresh our minds on why we are where we are today, is that this came from the Constitutional Court judgment on the New Nation Movement matter, which was mainly to allow for independents to contest national and provincial elections. I think, Chair, when we were dealing with the matter, we then decided that we will take a minimalistic approach just to allow for independents to continue. And we had that electoral bill and the changes that were made and subsequently to the act, and we achieved our objective of making sure that independents do contest. But we then saw a need in the process that we must look deeper in terms of electoral reform and do not just deal with the minimalistic approach of allowing for independence. And when we are saying we are looking at a deeper, we are not dealing with just an issue of saying whether it's about a constituency-based system or this system. We are looking overall. That was the mandate that was given to the panel. And as such, I believe the issue of research is about looking best international standards. We're looking at everything. So it's not just about the issue of whether it's constituency or the other system, just to make sure that the members of the committee are aware, because I think that question came from Honorable Ngubane. So must rest assured that this is not about a binary kind of a research that is being done. It's a blanket approach, looking at everything. And I think even previous documents will be looked at, as Honorable Tambi had raised that particular issue. So the process of the panel in terms of its appointment, you will remember, it involved the public, because nominations were done by the public. They will have nominated people, skills were looked at. It was not just a department or the ministry's decision to appoint those people. The IEC was involved. Eventually, we presented it to the portfolio committee. Subsequently, the panel was appointed by Parliament. So this is not just a departmental panel. It's actually a parliamentary panel that was approved through resolution by Parliament. And as such, I think that they must continue to give reports. We have received the report in terms of the quarterly report. We can share with the committee so that they can also have more discussions on the issue. Now, in terms of public consultation and political parties having a say on the issue, look, the panel will not draft a new regime in terms of electoral system alone. In fact, political parties have more of a role to play than even the panel itself. They had a role in the appointment of the panel through Parliament. They have a role in the oversight as and when they present here in the portfolio committee. They have a role also when it comes to public participation, because all those public participation involve political parties and their views will be incorporated there. So even the approval of the final system that will be done. It will be done by Parliament, which is a strong political based kind of a system. So the panel is about technical issues on how do we best apply our minds and what is best for us there, and then present it to this committee. So I think that there will be extensive participation by political parties. And again, in terms of the scope, it's a broader approach. It's looking at everything. It's not a municipalistic view. We decided on that. We'll look at the municipalistic view as it came to independence, but that point has passed now. So I just thought, Chair, I should make those few issues. But in terms of the independence, the panel is independent. As a department, we offer support in terms of technical and resource support when they need it. They decide on the staff complement that they will need as time proceeds, and we'll make sure that we support them all the way. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Minister?
Oh, Chairperson, the Minister had registered an apology at the beginning of the meeting, so he had to attend to other issues. And also, Chair, through your indulgence, I think maybe if we have closed this matter, I would like to know if we will still be required or we can be excused.
Thank you very much, DM. I thought the Minister is still in the meeting. Maybe I could not notice the apology. Thanks, colleagues, honorable members, for your contributions. And thank Advocate Sizani with your team and the department for responding. The committee has now noted the update and raise issues around what you have presented before the portfolio committee. And we are clear both as the subcommittee of Parliament, which is the portfolio committee, and the department that will offer support in terms of contributions to the work of the panel. And I think the first interaction in the seventh administration, who are interacting with yourself. And I must appreciate honorable members for have extensively raised issues to empower the committee to look at as an independent panel, that when they've exhausted all the issues, we're able to collectively work towards strengthening our democracy. We'll then request the panel to come back to brief the committee in detail, full report on the issues that you have responded on, Dr. Skuman and Mr. Sizani.
Thank you, Chair.
Full complement report and the game chart that was the time frame that was outlined by members. And that, because we have pressed for time, will invite you somewhere in the month of October or after October, just to get a brief. And I think the work that you have done so far demonstrate your understanding or clarity on the mandate or the scope of work that you have mandated to do. And Parliament reaffirm that which we have resolved for yourself to consider. We're fully aware, Advocate Sizani, that the mandate of the committee, of your task team, is not to bring one option to the Parliament or to the portfolio committee to consider, is to provide various options that we may need to consider within the standard which you may have sourced and also considered for the committee and the Parliament to then consider as the electoral system that will be working on. So those are the issues that we'll then deal with in the next committee meeting. So we must be prepared that the issues that we have raised will therefore present before the portfolio committee. We must give this task team support and its independence. And I'm sure that they are not standing to advance any other interest other than that what the parliament has defined as the mandate in the scope of work. And I think that principle should lies with the members of the committee, including when we communicate with the public in terms of advancing this cause. The issues of communication and information to stakeholders, the public, and political parties, as I've raised earlier on, Chairperson Sizani, that
Yes.
political parties, we have communicated with them, but there's extensive, and NGOs and individuals, there's extensive work that they need to do in terms of research, developing papers. So the contributions that members are carrying may need to find expression when you consolidate the framework program towards your public hearing and consideration on the issues. And that is important that you need to consider. And I'm emphatic on the
Yes.
committee consider to extend your deadline now that you have closed on the 30th September to October, so that we give sufficient time, and the issues that you are raising in terms of interacting with the media, community radio stations, because this, when we're dealing with the electoral amendment consideration, there was a lot of work that was done, but in the also there was issues that were raised in terms of broader communication and information of members of the public. So we must take collective responsibility as the committee and also yourselves to utilize sources that must extend information to the public. So it's important to consider that part. And I'm also taking note of Honorable Kojana that you also need to interact with there. I think Mr. Matonsi will avail correspondence so that we don't have two political parties who are in parliament and those that are not in parliament or NGOs raise concerns about information and time for their submission consideration, because there's still work to be done. So I think it's an important area that we need to deal with. Want to appreciate the update, and I think we'll stand off this item. Deputy Minister DG and your team, and also the panel, you will be released from this meeting, because we're dealing with the three issues that the committee may need to consider. But if there's any other matter you want to raise before you leave, you can raise them so that we take note of them. But I think that this will be our summary in terms of how we're going to interact with yourself. We'll invite you as I've outlined, and that I think will be a fiscal meeting so that we engage with the process. I think we're clearer, Mr. Advocate Suzanne.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The summary is quite clear, and we will respond to everything as the Chairperson has directed. Thank you very much. We appreciate the listening and the support we have got also from the committee. Okay. And the department.
Thank you, DM, and thank you, the team. We are releasing you now. You can deal with the other items. Mr. Salmon, is there any other, which item are we dealing with now?
Thank you, Chair. I've got the letter that Eddie was struggling to display earlier on screen. I'm just going to read it out with your permission.
Proceed, Mr. Salmon.
Thank you, Chair. So it's the Speaker of Parliament has referred this matter to the committee, and it's relating to the matter that the Parliamentary Legal Services briefed us on in one of our previous meetings, relating to the Electoral Matters Amendment Act and the threshold. I'm just going to read out the letter and then indicate how we are probably going to proceed. The court judgment in the My Votes Count and President of South Africa at the Western Cape High Court delivered on 16 August bears reference. In the matter, the court held that the Electoral Amendments Act taking effect on 8 May, the amounts related to the upper limit for donations, the disclosure threshold for donations in terms of Schedule 2 of the Political Party Funding Act, regulations 7 and 9 respectively cease to be law. This is because regulations in 7 and 9 repealed and substituted with new regulations that do not stipulate the amounts in this regard. The court held that the PPFA requires that the president make regulations to set the amounts for the upper limit and disclosure threshold, acting on a resolution of the assembly. The court indicated that the resolution required by section 24 must provide specific amounts for the upper limit and disclosure threshold in order to enable the president to make the said regulations, and further remarked that the assembly is required to consider and adopt such a resolution on an urgent basis. I'm referring the matter to the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs to consider the matter with a view to enabling the National Assembly to process the required resolution in terms of section 24 of the PPFA and on urgent basis. For ease of reference, I enclose the court judgment. We don't have that court judgment here, but we can provide members with it. Safe to say, Chairperson, that as indicated by the Parliamentary Legal Services in the last meeting, the disclosure threshold and minimum donation were indicated by the court to be at the limits that they were prior to the court to the amendments to the Act, and that the committee can draft a letter advising the National Assembly of this, which in turn the president then can process. So we will draft this in collaboration with the Parliamentary Legal Services based on the court ruling, and give this to members so we can adopt it in the next meeting, if that's okay, Chairperson.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Salmon. Members, this is a follow-up correspondence by the Speaker. As all of us who have been briefed in our last meeting by the Parliamentary Legal Services in relation to the court outcome, which we must read in upper limits. You recall that when we're carrying out the resolution in Parliament, the limits in relation to the party political funding amounts were not included, and we've proposed that the president, after consultation, will have to determine the upper limits and the limits. So the Parliament was taken to court, and the court has decided to direct Parliament to read in those amounts. And I think is it in the manner that Mr. Salmon has indicated, that this letter then seeks to be recorded in the committee, but also for the committee to consider the resolution and respond to the to Parliament, for Parliament to consider, to enable the president to determine the upper limits, if the limits that have been read in will be considered by the president. So will then, Mr. Salmon, as per your guide, draft the resolution. In fact, you ought to circulate the resolution that was carried by Parliament in the 6th administration for easy of reference by members. And I think you'll note that there are new members in Parliament that could not have followed this matter, but it'd be important we give time. Then in the next meeting, you then adopt for Parliament to be able to consider the resolution. What I would suggest, members, that you, by Thursday, Mr. Salmon, we should have, with the Parliamentary Legal Services, drafted that resolution, circulated to members for them also to consult in terms of the content of the drafting. And then on Tuesday, we don't start afresh to read in the resolution. If there are issues to deal with, we deal with in the meeting. We then adopt the resolution and proceed to respond to the Speaker on the decision of the committee. Can I invite members to comment if the summary will assist us to move forward on this item? Is there any contribution? Do we adopt the approach?
Chairperson?
No, Ross?
Apologies, Chair. I just cannot. I don't know if it's a meeting setting, but there's nothing here to raise my hand with. Chair, I think it's just critical that we have to get that draft by Thursday morning, because political parties have their caucuses then. I think it's critical that it can't be at the end of Thursday. It needs to be by first thing on Thursday. I just want to emphasize that point.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's fine, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Are we carrying the decision, members?
It's in order, Chair, supported.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Salmon. Are we clear on the Thursday by 8 o'clock, at least latest 8:30, because political parties convene their caucuses in the morning so that they are favored with the brief. Will it be sufficient, Mr. Salmon?
No problem, Chair. I'm sure we can get it to you by tomorrow. No problem.
Okay. No, it's fine. Let's work on that deadline on Thursday, and then we'll interface with that. Let's move to the other items. Mr. Salmon, just read up item number 6 and 7. It's notices.
Sorry, Chair.
Mr. Matonsi?
There was that other letter of Ms. Chow. If you can also read it.
Chairperson, should I proceed on that one?
Which letter are you talking about, Mr. Salma?
Chairperson, there's a letter from the Secretariat of the Electoral Review Panel, Ms. Chohan.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought that letter could have been, or is for noting, could have been dealt with by the panel itself. So, but read it for purpose of the committee noting.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just pull it up. Just give me a second.
In fact, you can just read it, Mr. Salmon. I don't think we must, if you are struggling, and it will circulate to members.
Thank you, Chair. It's brief. I'll pull it up. It's on the group with members too. Give me a second. Okay, it's opening. So as displayed chairperson, it's addressed to the Minister of Home Affairs, but forwarded to us. The letter of resignation. Kindly herewith accept my resignation with immediate effect from the structure called the Secretariat of the Electoral Reform Consultation Panel. I've attached the original letter of appointment herein for ease of reference. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to serve this august body. However, I'm unfortunately unable to continue for personal reasons. I wish you and the panel everything of the best and hope for the best outcomes to enhance the hard-won freedom and democracy. So just to reiterate, Chairperson, this was a appointee for the secretarial report to the committee, and she is unable to fulfill that role. So the panel will have to appoint another secretariat member. So it's just to keep the committee informed. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I think that's for noting. They will respond to the panel. They will deal with that matter. It's not a panel member who has resigned. It's a secretariat, and I think the competence of the panel to deal with that matter. Can you move to item number 4 and 5? Mr. Salman?
Chairperson, I think it's the minutes. That one's Mr. Edif to deal with.
Hi, Adam. Adam, is the report on the remuneration of IEC chairpersons?
I beg your pardon. Yes, I'll share that now, Chairperson.
Okay, I see a hand of Honorable Mokhale. Honorable Mokhale.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have a proposal on this item that we're about to deal with, Chairperson.
Okay.
My proposal is that we defer this matter until such a time that we have received the 2024 elections report from the IEC. We can't be talking issues of remuneration of commissioners when we have not received the report of the 2024 election, because that report is the one that will tell us if we must approve this report or not. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, noted. We're dealing with separate matters. Members will note the view that has been expressed by Honorable Mokhale. We're going to read in the report, and our content advisor will give background. We'll then consider the discussion on it in our next committee meeting, which is scheduled for next week. And we'll give again members to converse around it. It's not the first time we deal with this subject matter. Awaiting the report of the IEC, or in the midst of the IEC, we fully understand the decision of the report that should be presented by the IEC. Recall that we dealt with this matter when we're dealing with the report of the local government elections, the report of the IEC before. So I think, but let's note the matter raised by Honorable Mokhale will deal substantively with the matter next week, Tuesday. We'll read in so that members further consult, and we'll consider the matter in the next week, Tuesday. Mr. Salman?
Thank you, Chairperson. This is the report of the committee, the draft report of the committee on determining the remuneration of commissioners of the Electoral Commission of South Africa for the 2023-24 and 2024-25 financial years, dated 3 September. This will be dated next week then, as your advice, Chairperson, if we agree on that. The Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, having considered the draft notice of the President's determination of salaries and allowances of members of various institutions, including the Commissioners of the Electoral Commission of South Africa, reports as follows. On 28 May, a notice was received from the President of the Republic requiring the National Assembly to consider determination of the salaries and allowances of members of the institutions, including the IEC commissioners, in terms of the determination of remuneration of office bearers and constitutional institutions Laws Amendment Act for 2023, 24, 24, 25 financial years, usually required by the end of the financial year. Section 209 of the Constitution provides that national legislation must establish frameworks for determining salaries, allowances, and benefits of judges, public protector, the Auditor General, members of the Commission, provided for in the Constitution, including the Electoral Commission, referred to in Section 192. The determination of remuneration of office bearers and independent constitutions Laws Amendment Act of 2014 came into effect in 2019. Creates the necessary framework to determine the salaries of office bearers of Chapter 9 institutions mentioned in the Constitution. And Section 7.2 of the Electoral Act provides that the conditions of service, remuneration, allowances, and other benefits of commissioners shall from time to time be determined by the President after consultation with the Commission on Remuneration of Representatives established by Section 2 of the Commission on the Remuneration Act, and the distinction may be made between commissioners appointed in a full-time and part-time capacity. The President received annual salary recommendations of the public office bearers for the remuneration of public office bearers, and the Commission recommended this is actually, I notice here, this is an error. This is actually a 3% office. Because I did the actual calculation and it was actually a 3% increase, which is less than inflation, as public servants usually get. Let me just correct that now before. So this is a 3% salary increment for all categories of public office bearers, including members of the independent constitutional institutions for the 2022-23 financial year. Okay, so it was 3.8 for the 22-23. And then the President considered the Commission's recommendations and serious economic challenges facing the country and decided on a 3% salary increment for all members of the independent institutions. The part-time IEC commissioner is a judge and as such is remunerated in terms of Section 2.4 of the Judges' Remuneration and Conditions of Employment Act. recommendation. The committee, having deliberated, concur with the President's determination on the remuneration adjusted of IEC commissioners that a retrospective salary increase of 3% be implemented for the 2023-24 financial year and a 2.5% for the 2024-25 financial years for the chairperson and other full-time commissioners relative to the last salary level adopted for the 2022-23 financial year. So in that year, the salary for a chairperson was 2.573 million, and the salary for full-time commissioners was 2.24 million, respectively. So the interest rate recommended by the president, or the increase recommended by the president, is 2.65 million in 2024, so the last financial year, and 2.7 million in 2024-25 for the chairperson, which amounts to 3% from the previous year, and then 2.3808 million for 2023 and 2.365 million for the 2024-25 for full-time commissioners. So as indicated, the increase for last year would retrospectively be 3%, and the increase for this year would equate to, from April this year to April next year, amount to a 2.5% increase. A part-time commissioner will be remunerated a daily rate or hourly sitting rate calculated on the basic salary of a judge of the High Court. So there's one part-time commissioner who's a judge. The committee recommends that the National Assembly approve the notice determining the remuneration of commissioners of the Electoral Commission of South Africa and the report to be considered. Just to indicate, Chairperson, just to reiterate that this is long outstanding, that the salary increments have not been implemented for the entire last year as well as half of this year. So given the the delays in this process due to the elections, so there is a time element involved. But I revert back to you, Chair.
Thanks very much. You can then read the second. You've read the second one, the sixth one?
Chair, what I did is I combined, because the president made one letter, I combined it also into one letter. So it's both for 23-24 and 24-25 in one letter.
Okay. I will propose, members, I will come back to you, Honorable Ngoban. I'll propose that we then take the same approach, defer it to members of the committee to do further consultation. Then we come and on Tuesday deliberate and consider any decision that this committee may need to consider after I have exhausted deliberations. Can we, Honorable Ngoban?
No, Chair, I think with the stance you are talking, then what you are saying now, then I reserve my input on this parliament until that deliberation is done. I thought, Chair, you will be asking that the report be approved or not approved. I was coming to that response. But if you choose to postpone the approval of it, I agree with you, Chair.
No, I don't. I'm not choosing. I'm proposing, and I'm always guided by the committee that I propose that we consider to defer for further consultation, and next week we then deliberate.
I second you, Chair.
Okay. Any other member? Are we fine with the proposal?
Chair? Thank you very much, Chair. I think in this regard to support your proposal that we note this report that has been tabled before us and we deliberate on it in the next scheduled meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Honorable Makhale's hands up. Okay. I think we've carried the approach. Honorable Makhale?
Oh, yes, Chair. I just wanted to say that, well, I see that my initial proposal has been defeated, but Chairperson, it would have been proper for us to firstly go through the IEC report of the 2024 election before we give them an increase. What if we don't want to give them increase, or we want to give them even more? So let's get that report. That was my thinking, that we would first go through the report, satisfy ourselves that the commissioners have delivered on a successful 2024 election. Then we can talk issues of remuneration.
No. Honorable Mkhal, your view has not been defeated because we have not deliberated on it. And I think it must not be the spirit that we have been defeated. What we are dealing with, we're dealing now with the process for further consultation by all of us, and then we will deliberate on Tuesday, next meeting, to consider a decision on how we're going to handle this recommendation before the committee. So I think we're noting what you're saying, but it must not come out of the meeting that your views in terms of what you're suggesting has been defeated. We have not arrived at that point to deal with the matter. I think here we don't defeat views. We express and we reach a consensus on the basis, on the strength of the submissions of views that were carried. So we're going to deal with this matter in the next meeting. Mr. Matonsi, then let's deal with the minutes quickly of the previous meeting, then we adjourn the meeting. How many minutes are we dealing with, Mr. Matonsi?
Yes, it's only 3 sets of minutes.
Okay, these are the minutes, members, with that reflect our meetings, previous committee meetings, that we need to adopt for purpose of recording. You can proceed, Mr. Matonsi.
Yes, Chairperson. This is the minutes of the 23rd of July, where the content advisor brings the committee on the legacy report. And then also I went through some agenda items for our first term program as well as the second term program. These are the members who were there at the meeting. Over to you.
No, you can proceed with the entire minutes. It's only these members, those are the minutes.
I'm saying, do you want me to read the minutes or do you want me to go through to the second one? Because I thought maybe we were going through this one, then I thought we were going to go to the second one. The minutes were submitted to members on time for them to go through.
Okay. Members, is there any other matter on the minutes that has been read before we consider adoption? Honorable Bowman. Honorable Bowman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. Just a clarity about not it's an amendment. The item 8 should read 10:30. 10:30.
Okay.
Otherwise, all.
Okay, Mr. Matonsi, note that amendment.
If she's referring to the time of the meeting, at that time, it is the day that we discussed that the meeting should start at 10. We started at 9 o'clock.
That's why I said, run through the minutes, the recommendations there, the recommendations that we carried, so that we don't. Okay, Mr. Sorry, Honorable Kojana.
Thank you, Chairperson. My apologies. I'm just driving to the plenary, but I have gone through all 3 sets of minutes. From my side, I would move to adopt if I need to give input. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. With that amendment and the adoption, there's a proposal to adopt. Any seconder?
I'll second, Chair.
Second and on the minutes. Any objection? No objection. The first minutes. Can you move to the second one?
Yeah, Chair. Then the second. Then the second one, Chairperson, is on the 20th of August, where we had a meeting where Max Building, where we consider the letter from the IEC Chairperson regarding the briefing on the National and Provincial Election Report. Then also the Parliamentary Legal Service brief us on the immigration amendment bill extension and the summary update on the my vote count matter. Sorry.
Members, this is the minutes that reflect our last meeting. Can I invite hands for comments or adoption?
I move for the adoption of the minutes, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mudisi, sir. Any seconder? Honorable Kochana or seconded all the three reports. I will use the submission. Now the minutes of the 20 have been carried. Can you move to the last minutes?
Okay. Quickly. The last minutes, 27th of August last week, where the committee was briefed on the marriage bill. The content advisor also briefed the committee on the submission that we received on the marriage bills. Then also the department's briefing on the content of the immigration amendment bill. And then the DG also, the DG and the counter-corruption DDG brief us on the issue of the incident that happened at the Tswane Refugee Reception Office. Yeah, that's all, Chair.
Okay, thank you. The other matter we raised there is that before we're going to engage on the public hearings, we must invite the Parliamentary Public Education Unit because that is a team that advances before any committee of parliament go and conduct public hearing. The committee will need their plan and also the summary version of the awareness that they're going to intake. So that's a decision we've taken in relation to the public hearing, and the committee also has the caution that we need sufficient time and so that we reach all stakeholders and the public in relation to this matter. So you'll schedule the public education unit, Mr. Matonsi, to come and deal with these two issues so that we also guide the program. Once they've outlined how they're going to deal with it, we'll then determine a date of our public hearings, particularly on the marriage bill. Can I invite hands for comments or adoption? Any mover for adoption of the minutes? Honorable Mkhale?
Yes. Honorable Mati is moving the adoption.
Thank you for the adoption, sir. Seconder, I see Honorable Mkhale.
No, Chair, I just wanted to check on that issue that we had raised there in the meeting on the Afghanistan nationals. I see it's not captured. We had requested that there should be a report on those Afghani nationals.
Oh, yes. Mr. Matonsi?
Just check if it's not there.
We agree that when the multidisciplinary committee, task team, and the anti-corruption branch of the department bring a comprehensive report on all the issues, this matter also was raised that they need to include it in the report.
Okay, I'll include it, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Can then get seconder for the adoption of the report with those amendments?
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ross. Members, all the minutes have been carried. Brief of the Electoral Reform Panel have been considered or noted. We have resolved on the issues in relation to the letter from the Speaker. Members will be circulated with the draft on Thursday at 8:30 for purpose of consultation with their parties or constituencies. Secondly, we'll deal with the matter in relation to the salaries of the commissioners or Chapter 9 institutions in relation to what we're conducting oversight on the IEC. And on Tuesday, we'll deliberate and take a decision on that. So those are the key issues that this committee has considered. I want to thank you all members for having guided the meeting, interacted on the issues, and I think we have taken a resolve on the approach we're going to deal with other matters. Mr. Matonzi, is there any other announcement you want to make before we adjourn?
No, Chair, there's no other announcement, but I'll talk you on the side in terms of for next week, because I need to apply for a venue. Don't have a venue on Tuesday.
Okay, thanks very much, members. Our meeting stand adjourned.
Thank you, Chair. Goodbye, colleagues.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. Bye-bye.
Thank you.